everyone. This is John Daly. I'm here with Bernie Goldberg for another episode of the No BS Zone. Bernie, how's it going today?
All good so far.
Good, good. So today we'll be talking about a topic you wrote about on Monday. Last week was the Georgia primary going. So what's your take on the Georgia primary?
Well, let's go through a little history. Donald Trump has been on a revenge tour with Brian Kemp as his main target. Of all the Republican politicians in the whole United States, Brian Kemp was number one on Donald Trump's rhetorical hit list. He loathed the guy. He hated him because Brian Kemp would not overturn the 2020 presidential vote count in Georgia, which gave Joe Biden the victory, okay? So Donald Trump goes on this revenge tour. At one point, he even called Brian Kemp the worst governor in the country on election integrity. He hated him. And Brian Kemp won with almost 74% of the vote. There's no other way, John, no other way to look at this other than it was a humiliating defeat for Donald Trump. But there's a lesson in this. One lesson is you can win an election, especially if you're an incumbent who's done a lot of things for the people in your state. You can win an election without Donald Trump. The other thing is, Brian Kemp said, Donald Trump is mad at me. I'm not mad at him. So you don't attack Donald Trump. You don't offend his most loyal fans, not just people who voted for him, but his most loyal fans. And you could win an election. And Brian Kemp proved that. Going forward, the most important lesson as I see it is that even people in Georgia who liked Donald Trump, who aren't offended by his combative style, who may have even thought the election was rigged, they still wanted to put 2020 in the rear view mirror. That's a very important lesson. I don't know if Donald Trump got the message. That's a big question mark. But voters in Georgia, and I think beyond, have had it with this delusion that the election was stolen. They're tired of it. Even if they believe it was stolen, they're tired of it.
Right, and we should mention too that Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, he won as well. He was another one on Trump's hit list, and some other officials that were running as well. Yeah, no, it is sort of interesting. I think from my point of view, I think it does matter that this was Georgia, because Georgia, they're the ones, you know, who in January of 2021, a lot of them didn't show up at the runoff election to vote because Trump had convinced them, enough of them anyway, that the election had been stolen and that the election system in Georgia was corrupt. And that's why right now the Republicans no longer have the majority in the Senate. So I think that's sort of a big deal.
Some states are more important than others, and Georgia is very important for the reasons that you just outlined.
Right, and I think, you know, people will mention too that, you know, obviously Trump does have some influence in some of these other states' primaries. You know, we go back a few weeks to the Ohio primary, where every person running for the U.S. Senate nomination for the Republican Party was just tripping over themselves. I think all but one person really trying to get that Trump endorsement. And J.D. Vance, he got it eventually, and it was sort of interesting because he was campaigning hard on sort of this, you know, the America First, the sort of the nationalist type campaign platform, but was only in the polls registering about single digits until Donald Trump finally came through and gave him that endorsement, and he ended up pulling it out, I think, with something like 30% of the vote. So it definitely has some influence in other states still.
Exactly. I'm not suggesting, I want to make this very clear, I'm not suggesting that an endorsement from Donald Trump in some contest doesn't matter. It matters a lot. It mattered to J.D. Vance, as you say. He was going nowhere, and Donald Trump came along, endorsed him, and he won the primary. But if you're an incumbent governor and you have the clout to do things like eliminate for a period of time the gas tax, the gasoline tax in Georgia, people notice that and they appreciate that. and they notice that more than they care about what Donald Trump says about you. So a Donald Trump endorsement matters in a lot of places, but if you're an incumbent governor especially, it doesn't matter as much. And the lesson, once again, is that you can win without Donald Trump's support. I think a lot of Republicans are just plain scared of Donald Trump. There's no other way to put it. They're afraid of offending Donald Trump and by extension, his most loyal supporters, which amounts to maybe 20, 25%, whatever the number is, of people who voted for Donald Trump. If you lose them, you can't win an election. So they don't want to lose him, but there are ways around it. Glenn Youngkin in Virginia didn't embrace Donald Trump, but didn't badmouth Donald Trump. Brian Kemp in Georgia, as I say, he said, Donald Trump's mad at me, I'm not mad at him. That goes a long way. You don't offend Donald Trump, and the less you do to embrace him, the better chance you have with moderate swing voters who are a crucial block in winning elections.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for Ohio, for example, with all the craziness that went on in that primary, how Vance is going to be able to sort of appeal to moderates now after he went so far in. But back to Georgia, Kemp's going to move on now. He's going to go off to November to face the Democratic nominee Stacey Abrams in the general election. This will actually be a rematch from 4 years ago. So, what are your thoughts on that contest, Bernie?
Well, this is going to sound crazy. I acknowledge that right up front. But Donald Trump has more in common with Stacey Abrams than with the Republican Brian Kemp when it comes to so-called supposed rigged elections in Georgia. I made some notes. Let me tell you what Stacey Abrams said after she lost to Brian Kemp in 2018. She said, concession means to acknowledge an action is right, true, and proper. I cannot concede. Now, here's what Donald Trump said in 2020 after he lost the presidential election. We will never concede. You don't concede when there's theft involved. So Stacey Abrams won't concede. Donald Trump won't concede. Last December, in an interview on CNN, Stacey Abrams said, quote, Kemp won under the rules of the game at the time, but the game was rigged. The game was rigged against the voters of Georgia. After he lost in 2020, Donald Trump tweeted, Biden only won in the eyes of the fake news media. I concede nothing. We have a long way to go. This was a rigged election. They sound exact, not almost alike. They're using the exact same words. So I raise a question that I acknowledge up front is ridiculous. Is it possible that Donald Trump, given his hatred of Brian Kemp, might endorse the progressive Democrat Stacey Abrams? It's crazy. Don't even take it seriously. It's crazy. It's possible also knowing Donald Trump.
No, I was going to say, I mean, it may sound crazy initially, but he's actually sort of made some, and I wish I had the quotes in front of me, but he sort of made some offhanded comments a few times during the primary, suggesting that Abrams might be better than Kemp, actually. So it's not that crazy. I think.
I'll tell you what the comment is. I have the exact quote.
Oh.
He was at a rally in Georgia last September when Kemp was running in the primary, and he said, Donald Trump is saying this. Stacey, would you like to take Kemp's place? It's okay with me. Donald Trump, a supposed Republican, is saying, Stacey, would you like to take Kemp's place? It's okay with me. Here's something that my friends out there who are listening to us, they think I hate Donald Trump. I don't hate Donald Trump. I've met Donald Trump many times. I've interviewed him 4 or 5 times. I've spent time with him in Aberdeen, Scotland, at his golf course when I was doing a story about him. He can be a very gracious guy. He can be a very charming guy. But let me tell you something. Donald Trump doesn't care one bit about you. And I'm not pointing to you, John. I'm pointing to the people at home. Donald Trump only cares about Donald Trump. And if he says to Stacey Abrams, would you like to take Kemp's place? It's okay with me. He's not loyal to the Republican Party. He's loyal to Donald Trump and only to Donald Trump. So is he going to endorse Stacey Abrams? No, because if he does, he's finished. Even his most loyal fans will say, this guy has gone off the rails. So he's not going to do it. I raise it to make the point that he's more in tune with Stacey Abrams' nutty views on rigged elections in Georgia than he is with Brian Kemp's.
Yeah, and there doesn't seem to be. It's funny reading some of the reports about how he came to came to his decisions to endorse certain primary candidates. I mean, he was asked about J.D. Vance I keep going back to him, but was asked about J.D. Vance, and Trump made the point where he liked how he thought Vance had a good look. He thought that he presented well on television, that sort of thing. And it really had nothing to do with any of the policies. And I think the same goes with Dr. Oz. This is someone, and as of the time we're recording this, I don't think that race has still been called yet, but I could be wrong. But yeah, it just sounds a lot of times it's, these people that present well on TV that of course say very nice things about them. There's not a whole lot of thought put into what they're actually running on.
I have nothing to say. You nailed it. You nailed it. And what does that tell you? He's a show business person. He won partially because he was not a political person, but policy, substance, that's not his thing. He likes Vance because, I like his look. He likes Oz because he had a successful TV show. Pee Wee Herman also had a successful TV show. If Pee Wee Herman ran for some office, Donald Trump might support him, but then again, he may say, Pee Wee Herman has the wrong kind of look. He's not my kind of guy, if you know what I mean.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Well, so one thing I wanted to sort of to add in there too, and again, this is going back to Georgia. You see some media on this, but Pence was actually Mike Pence was actually a very strong supporter of Brian Kemp in Georgia, and went out there and campaigned for him. And recently, in an interview, Pence sort of suggested, while a lot of other potential Republican presidential candidates for the 2024 election are sort of being coy about whether or not they would enter if Donald Trump is going to enter, Pence kind of suggested that, if Trump's running, if he decides to run, I'm still going to run. He didn't say it quite in those words, I'm paraphrasing, but it sounds like he is prepared to anyway. And I know you've talked about this a little bit in the past about, not believing Pence would have much of a chance. And if Trump is in the race, and I tend to agree, but can you imagine what some of those debates would look like? Do you think Pence would find himself kind of revealing a lot of inside information that people haven't heard yet?
Well, I did say that Pence wouldn't have a shot. I have second thoughts. Unfortunately for Mike Pence, they're exactly the same as my first thoughts. He wouldn't stand a chance. But historically, when a person is running, usually it's when an incumbent is running. Donald Trump wouldn't be an incumbent, obviously, in 2024. But when an incumbent is running and he has a challenger from his own party, it doesn't bode well for the incumbent. Jimmy Carter had Ted Kennedy running against him, and Jimmy Carter lost. If Donald Trump runs against Pence, it's going to split the Republican Party. Donald Trump would still win the nomination, I believe. But there are enough Republicans who don't like Donald Trump enough to vote for Mike Pence. And if Donald Trump gets real nasty with them in the debates and on the campaign trail, those Republicans who supported Pence might sit home on election day. It wouldn't be a good thing. You want to know the best thing from my point of view? It's only from my point of view, not from the point of view of the many people watching us. If Donald Trump just toned it down, played a lot more golf at Mar-a-Lago in Florida, and did not run in 2024, the Republicans have a number of people who are solid conservatives. The Democrats don't have very much on their bench. They don't. Joe Biden, I don't make predictions anymore, as some of you know, because I didn't think Donald Trump would even run in 2016, let alone win. So I stopped making predictions. But here's one. Joe Biden's not running in 2024. It ain't happening. And Kamala Harris, I hope she does run, because any Republican would beat her. So who do you have after that on the Democratic side? I know I've said this before. Friends have asked me, and I say I'm not predicting this. It's a very long shot, but don't count Hillary Clinton out of this picture. Don't paint her out of this picture, because who else do you have? I mean,
Yeah, I think that the only chance, I think there are probably some unknowns, for the Democratic, the 2024 primary. Obama kind of came out of nowhere somewhat, back when he eventually went on to run. And so I think it would almost have to be someone we don't really know a whole lot about at this point, because like you said, sort of some of the names that have been around a while, Harris and Clinton. I don't think Clinton, I mean, I doubt she would run, and I think the Democratic Party kind of recognizes that, she's just very, very unliked and a very unpopular candidate. And I agree with you on Biden. I don't think he's going to run. So yeah, it's an open question. I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to envision. There's people I can think of that have run before. John Hickenlooper was my former governor here in Colorado. I thought he actually did quite well during those Democratic debates, but he went nowhere, his candidacy. So, I don't know. It's an open question for sure.
Nobody's voting for somebody named Hickenlooper, okay, for president. And
Be.
there is Pete Buttigieg, right?
Right.
He's a name that you hear a lot about. He doesn't come off. He just doesn't come off as forceful enough, I think, to be seen in the Oval Office, facing off against somebody like Putin or the Chinese leader, Xi. Look, I'm not saying Hillary Clinton's going to run. I want to make that clear. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But she's the best known of the field outside of Trump and Kamala Harris, and neither of them are going to go anywhere. Buttigieg, I just don't see him winning. He could win the nomination. He could win because you know why he can win the nomination? Because the Democratic Party doesn't have moderates anymore. Yeah, Joe Manchin, okay. They don't have, it's not, the energy in the Democratic Party is on the far left, the progressive wing of the party. They've had several victories in the primaries this month. And Buttigieg would be a popular choice, but I don't think he would be a popular choice for the American people.
Yeah, no, and it's interesting bringing up Manchin, because I think there's a lot of people like him, maybe not a lot, but a number of people in the Democratic Party who I think, I think it's safe to say he's a moderate in that party. I have complete confidence if he were to make it to a general election as president, he could win, but he can never get his nomination. It's just far left. Oh, Manchin.
Oh, Manchin.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I agree. As a matter of fact, see, I don't vote for the candidate at the top of the ticket. I vote against him sometimes, but I don't vote for the candidate at the top of the ticket because they're part of a team. So as much as I like Joe Manchin and what he stands for, I would never vote for Joe Manchin because he's part of the Democratic team, and that's a liberal progressive team. But if he could somehow come over to the Republican Party, I could get very excited about Joe Manchin running for president.
Yeah, they've been trying to get him over there for a while too. I'm not sure he's ever coming, but yeah, that would be something, wouldn't it?
You know why he's not? Because he's a lifelong Democrat in West Virginia, which means something in West Virginia. It would be tantamount to leaving your family or something. if he went over to the Republican side. But if he did, he'd be a front runner with a lot of Republicans in a hurry. He would.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think that's
But
probably
if he ran as a Democrat, all the Republicans who say they like him, he would be the top person in the Democratic Party, which is a liberal progressive party, as I say. And you're electing the entire team. And I used to be a Democrat about 1,000 years ago. I haven't voted for a Democrat literally since Jimmy Carter in my youth. And I would not vote for Joe Manchin if he got the Democratic nomination. But Joe Manchin, I have a better chance of winning the Democratic nomination than Joe Manchin does. And I have no chance. Joe Manchin is poison to the Democratic Party. Maybe not to Democratic voters, by the way. That's an interesting distinction. Not to Democratic voters, because a lot of them are old school people. But to the people who run the Democratic Party, no.
No, I think you're probably right. Well, let's go ahead and wrap it up there. Thanks again, Bernie. This is always good talking to you, and thanks everybody who watches the No BS Zone and is part of Bernie's membership. We always say go ahead and let us know your feedback on these shows, and please tell your friends if you enjoy them, share them with your friends and family, let them know about what we do here. We always appreciate that. Anything else you'd like to say, Bernie?
The more the merrier.
Yeah.
That's my mantra. The more the merrier.
Very good, very good. Okay, everybody. We'll see you next time.